Oh, so that was a fantastic run. Literally like the best run I'd ever had of Power Up, Tower Up. Now it's time to cash in all these rewards.
That's a lot of rewards.
Yeah. Obviously, as you can see, as you get closer and closer to completion, like the rewards become more spread out. So there's not as much, but there's one that's all question marks. Huh.
There's... Hello? Hello? Oh, God damn it. Has this gone... Can't get the technology these days.
Welcome to Vandalay Game Studios. Yep. This is one of the best things okay, I need to stop myself there because I realize that I say that a lot about various things in Hi-Fi Rush.
Everything in this game is the best thing so far.
you know, I got a better word. This is the most heartwarming part of the game. It's also deeply comedic and sometimes sad because of how it's clearly continuing the satiric bent of corporate culture, particularly as far as this is what dysfunction in the video game development studio is like.
Yeah.
So what you're about to see is just this is Vlog's the video. This is basically all it is. There's no action, there's no level. What it is a mix of two types of vlogs. One is by members of Vandalay Game Studios that are just continue the ever-present joke of just Vandalay being a fucking corporate nightmare. And the other are actual thank you messages from the development staff in all the different departments. So, obviously there's a lot of text. We can only do so much to, like, actually focus on, like, individual pieces. So, obviously, if you want to read all these, feel free to pause the video as we go along. You know, maybe on a second run through, just so like our yammering isn't distracting you as you interrupt it.
I like how Corsica is short as always. Very stoic.
Yep,
not bad.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, even a little bit of praise from Roxanne, even though we don't really hear her talk until the very end.
Yeah.
The famous, it's not a bug, it's a feature made manifest.
Sometimes it results in some of the best game mechanics ever. Other times it results in the game being delisted for 6 months.
In this case, I think it's just a very fringe bug situation that almost no one would ever really come across, but the director has no time to actually, like, you know, approve getting it fixed, because who cares? You know, known shippables, I believe, is the industry term that I've heard mentioned as far as, like, especially among Western devs, that, like, yeah, those are bugs that are acknowledged, but we don't care enough to fix them.
If it doesn't affect the gamer experience enough to do something about it, then you don't do anything about it.
Yeah. Yeah, here we are in the ideas department, the idea man.
Yeah, I'm the idea man. I just leave it to everyone else to turn my straw into gold. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Not even remotely how that works, but...
Thing is, I would argue that a position of director is more of, like, a proper idea man, because they also have the ability to, like, you know, give proper direction to like, convey those ideas.
I also like how the longest text document starts off text amount exceeding reader concentration or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Just, wow.
Watching lots of streamers and VTubers helped me get through it.
For all you Japanese users out there, you might want to search for left shark.
Yeah, definitely.
Know your place, shark.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that paragraph I just pointed out, like, I could sympathize, like, with the pandemic being such a shit show. VTubers were kind of a bright spot.
I had a friend that did online DJ sets a couple of times a week that were really good.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, this is all the stuff where, like, it's such a fun mix of, you know, just obvious parody, but also still very true kind of, like, dysfunctions between different departments about how they want the game to go, because just that's the nature of a creative project. Like, the more you would just have like a larger group of people on board if you don't have the right person to like steer the ship. I think one thing that I always like think about is how Tomonobu Itagaki always kind of like was kind of referred to himself as, like, he was always fond of using like military like ship analogies for describing him and his team at Team Ninja, and like kind of all of his projects, I guess, is that he sees himself as like he's the captain of the ship, and especially in a military sense, he's like kind of keeps everyone in line like a general.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with projects like these, as anyone who's been in this kind of situation can attest, there needs to be a hard line between, okay, we'll take on everyone's suggestions on board, and no, this is what we're doing now.
Yeah. It's like the difference between how like Shinji Mikami directed all of his games versus how he directed Evil Within 1, where he actually did just take in everyone's suggestions.
And in that case, I think it definitely worked to the game's benefit.
It worked in certain areas, I would definitely say.
I'm sorry, I'll still go to bat for the Evil Within.
well, yeah, but I mean, you know, someone. I hope someone took the fucking fall for like that fucking city chapter from like 11 onward.
Yeah, that was like the weakest point of the game, to be certain.
Yeah, but I mean, for as much as I'm critical of Evil Within, it's like I still love Chapter 3 and 9. I think those are genuinely great moments.
And the final couple of chapters when everything just turns into meat and gore. Those were amazing visually.
Oh yeah, for like the visual standpoint, yeah, definitely I could see that. Yeah.
And the underground car park boss fight was really good as well.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like,
don't get many developer rooms in games these days, and it's really sad.
Like the oldest one I can think of that was a thing was it used to be, I assume it's no longer the case in this series, but it used to back on the PS2. But like the Ratchet and Clank games from like the second and third games both had a thing hidden inside called the Insomniac Museum, where they
God
basically
of War had that as well.
Yeah, but the idea was like it was a very obscure like method of actually accessing it, like a very hidden away thing. But once you did, it basically took you into like a separate level where it had all of like the unused or unfinished stuff that they had to basically dummy out of the main game, but also included various, like voiceover descriptions and like other demonstrations of like, this is what we had wanted in this part of the game, and like this was a concept for a weapon that didn't come to be.
Yeah. So whenever I think about that, I always think of either Chrono Trigger or God of War.
Oh, yeah.
Chrono Trigger,
God of War app.
Chrono Trigger, I think, was the first one that had something like that. Obviously, there was like Adventure on the Atari 2600, which technically was the first developer's room. But Chrono Trigger was really the first one to make it a proper thing, to the best of my knowledge. And God of War had the... as with Ratchet and Clank, it had the gallery, which had all the past concepts and so forth.
Yeah, interactive museum. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do love how like the programmers area is all the computer towers are just smoking.
Now they need a lot more pictures of cats on their walls, because every programmer I know has like 10 cats.
Maybe one of them that has like cat wearing cat ears, or has like a little like furry tail kind of like attached to their belt.
Yeah, and three pairs of quote unquote programming socks.
Yeah, I've definitely come across those people. Funny enough, not actually in programming positions. I think they were just like testers at like various contract testing jobs I had done in the past.
And this one guy who's just like, it's just how I dress. Like, good for you.
Now we're at the UI team, in which the sole member of the UI team, or two of them actually, have their HP bars at 0. That said, though, like, we are still doing like this crisscross thing, so we are kind of going in and out of some of these departments.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we've seen sound, we've seen the producers, programmers, UI, we got like the environment team, which, that's definitely a fucking... like, for what this game had to achieve as far as like keeping consistency with like everything being in rhythm, that had to take a lot of fucking work.
Oh, yeah.
Making every background object be something that could contribute to, like, the pulsating beat of the music. Oh yeah, reading this, even though it's funny, it hurts me every time because of how much it gets to the thing that, like, I generally do not like, where I'm already fatigued on, like, new open world games or, like, just continuing series that are open world by design, but just when it's a game that has like more constrained worlds in their design to begin with, but then decide to go open world, it absolutely hurts.
To preserve the image of worker benefits. Oh, that fucking hurts.
Yeah. It's kind of the same thing with, like, there was that one gag early on about the garden area, and that it was like that employees cannot linger around in the garden during their breaks.
Oh yeah, I think I mentioned I've worked in a couple of places that had absolutely beautiful garden areas with benches that we were not allowed to use.
That hole is very concerning. The ultimate T-pose.
You must assume dominance. Yep.
Said T-posing employee is leaning against the desk. He died for his art.
He died as he lived.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, the first question was, so it's a rhythm game? But then no, it's more.
808. Yes!
Yes. How can you not love 808? Although fire the person who says he's more of a Tango-chan person than 808.
Yeah, cats. I'm gonna make a controversial statement here. Cats are better than snails.
Yeah, cat supremacy.
I'm sure I've offended at least one person out there that says the internet.
Yeah. But yeah, it is fun when you, like, just look through, like, all these, like, actual developer messages and just kind of, especially when you can notice, like, the messages that come from people that were, like, that, like, came from the point of view where, like, they had no real idea or concept of, like, a sense of rhythm or what a beat was. You know, just kind of learning as they went along, just following the director's lead and realizing, like, what this blend of action and music game was going to be.
Well, I mean, back when it came out, everyone just kept saying,
Yep, we get one last costume set for Chai and 808.
Nice. I like how 808 just looks like our smile has just been, like, stapled on.
Yeah. Yeah, this is my favorite one. So what if programmers say it slows the game down to a crawl? What if the animators need to individually put motion to every red blood cell or electric current? Motherfucker decided, like, this motherfucker looked at the fucking image of the Yandere dev, like, having, like, way too many polygons on a fucking toothbrush and was like, fucking amateur.
See, I was thinking of Gart and Ban myself, where the game looks objectively looks like trash, and yet every model in it has, like, 3 million polygons.
Mm-hmm. Here's the best use of concept art in a video game, where instead of being an individual unlockable for each piece, they're like, nah, here's a fucking collage. We know you people don't actually want to earn individual concept art pieces, but we still want to include them anyway, so here's the whole set.
I always kind of felt that unlocking individual pieces, like, bit by bit, and, you know, saying this is your bonus content, always felt kind of a cop-out.
Yeah. Like, cosmetics are way better, which is why this game has a lot of them.
Yeah. Oh, hey, it's that screen.
Yeah. Every frame's a picture, and here we animate on 2, so that means we have 2 similar pictures for every frame? Or 1 every 2? Yeah. Yeah, this was definitely around the time where I feel like, I think especially because of Into the Spider-Verse, like those Spider-Verse movies in general started to kind of, like, get more in the people's mind the idea that the concept of animating on 2s was a thing.
Yeah, I feel I think in terms of especially game animation, like, over the next 5 years or so, we're going to be seeing people being like, yeah, this was a big influence on our art style, or we saw this and we were like, oh shit, we need to step our game up.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, even the what was it, oh, hi, John.
Oh, he seems popular.
Yeah, turns out directing a video game is the most stressful thing possible for him. He's
Shocking.
like everyone, like you saw, like with all like the fucking Vandalay like logs from like from the employees just having like their misgivings about the director and thinking, oh, he's so fucking arrogant. Who does he think he is? But it turns out they never really understood that no, he's actually fucking terrified of letting everyone down.
Yeah. Shocking.
There's a dead Smidge.
Rip.
Oh yeah. This isn't the Shin Brutal. I forgot. This is the D metal, death metal.
Yeah.
It was
Coffee.
a barista. It was a barista, but then the tragedy of the coffee machines only putting out decaf put it into a frenzy.
Chaos of caffeine. That needs to be the title of my next album.
Once again, the disgruntled coffee machine technician has ensured that he has multiple victims. He is going to make sure that everyone at Vandalay learns a lesson from this.
Told you, never fuck with someone's caffeine.
Yeah.
That's how you lose organs.
Mm-hmm. So here we go. A single message from the director himself. With a gift from him to us. The gift basket!
Hold it tight.
It was real all along! But yeah, this being as close to a labor of love for him as could be, yeah, that makes sense, considering like this was a concept I'd wanted to see for at least a decade. And apparently John also had the same idea for that amount of time. So I'm glad. Thank you for giving this to us, man.
Okay, but I was expecting there to be cake. I was told there would be cake.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of different candies and whatever inside there. I mean, that's why it's all gift wrapped. Well, time to leave this place behind. We've seen everything.
We somehow made it through all of this. Making things is hard. Things never go as planned. Too many features, not enough time. We want the best, but can only do so much with what we have. So this is what we made. We've never been more proud. A game, a song, a million different pieces working together. Brought to you by all of us. It may not be what you expected. Everything that you wanted. But we did our best, and here it is, a piece of our heart, the hard work from all of us. So please don't complain, and just enjoy, because at the end of the day, it's all just a game. One we spent thousands and thousands of hours arguing, building and polishing. But hey, no sweat.
That was the final song on the original soundtrack for Hi-Fi Rush.
I feel like they're trying to tell us something, but I'm not sure what.
I feel like whatever it was they were trying to tell us, I could feel it in my heart.
Not subtle, but then again, sometimes you don't need to be.
Nah. I mean, for fuck's sake, I'm a Macross fan. I understand the power the music has.
Oh, hell yeah.
Anyway, the gift basket is now a permanent fixture of our couch in the center of the Hangouts.
Yay, basket.
Yeah. Like all the Wall of Fame achievements on this save file that I used for Let's Play obviously have not all been completed. Some of the stuff you saw came from like my main file that has everything unlocked, including what you saw there, the only time I was going to use photo mode because it never really came up as something I almost briefly considered having all the thumbnails it just be stuff I made in photo mode, but I felt like I would have been deriving depriving people of all the fantastic fucking like shots from the cutscenes and whatnot.
Just so many face punches.
So many punches to the face, so many expressions, so many good things. Hi-Fi Rush, goddamn, what a fucking fantastic game.
I have to admit, when this came out and everyone was like, "Oh, okay, so it's basically Jet Set Radio," and I was like, "Oh, okay, well, that's great." I like Jet Set Radio, but I was never like a huge fan of it, so it just completely bypassed me entirely. And it wasn't until we started this I was like, "Oh wait, this is Devil May Cry. What the fuck?"
I was still shocked that like when this game was shadow dropped, like same day of announcement, it was available to purchase or play on Game Pass. It was the sort of thing where it's like, there's got to be a monkey's paw to this, right?
Yeah.
But it turned out no, there wasn't.
You do not release a game this polished, this stylish, this. Let's be honest. It is like I have not seen a game so self-assured of itself. I don't know how long. This game knew exactly what it wanted to be, and it managed to achieve it, and I am stunned.
Yeah.
This is genuinely a once-in-a-console generation kind of a game.
Yeah, and again, I cannot get over the fact that, like, this game came out and basically addressed, like, it basically answered the question I had been trying to figure out of, like, how could you make an action game where your actions are in sync to the music? Because I definitely, and I was very pleasantly surprised that, like, the solution that they came to actually ended up being the best one with how, like, where the impact of the hits are always on the beats rather than, like instantly coming out the moment you hit the button, because that sort of concept works in like a shooter type of scenario, where like, projectiles are fired so fast that it might as well be instantaneous, like hit scan. But in a game where attacks can have varying lengths to them, it's like having it so that, okay, light attacks will, like, when you press the button, it will land on the beat after, and heavy attacks will land 2 beats after. And like, yes, that makes sense perfectly. It's also the sort of thing where, it's still this the thing that I kind of bring up as like a kind of a sticking point that always kind of leads to like the discussions I've had with friends of mine who are like big action game fans as well, even with people that like the game as well, knowing how, because of figuring out like this rhythm aspect and designing the whole experience to kind of highlight that, there is very much that feeling of like the actions that you have to play with, the tools in your arsenal being very standard. Yeah. You're not really getting anything that's like super unique, but it's the recontextualization that the rhythm aspect provides that still makes me enjoy it. And when I decide to boot the game up again to play it again, even with the emphasis on parries and dodges and having a Nero style like grapple move or whatever, it doesn't like bother me, the derivativeness of it, because the music just like gets me in the swing of it.
I mean, when you get down to it, and I'm gonna go ahead and say anyone who refutes this is a goddamn filthy liar. We all have those moments in games when we're playing them and the music is just right and everything you are doing is syncing up perfectly to it, completely unintentional, and you are just at one with the game and you feel like a complete fucking badass. And this is that moment stretched out into a complete full-length game. And the fact that no one had done it before is shocking.
Yeah,
you would have
other
thought
rhythm hybrids had existed, but nothing on quite the scale or with this particular genre fusion.
Yeah, or even with this level of what's the word I'm looking for, accomplishment.
Yeah. Because like this is from like a big studio. This isn't an indie project or something. Yeah, like if it were, you would probably be able to see like a lot more clear limitations they would have to put in place.
And the fact that it is a big studio and it's not an indie dev in itself is impressive, because you always expect these kind of concepts to come from smaller companies, and then, like a year or two down the line, once it gets proven to be popular, then you expect a big company to pick up and be like, oh, okay, now we can do something with it. But
I guess it shows more than anything that when you're working at a company that is that for a time is overseen by Shinji Mikami himself, the best example of like a mentor figure in the industry who actively seeks out new talent to prop up.
Well, again, that's another thing which is shocking is you don't expect, you don't really expect the big names to nurture the smaller ones in this day and age. And the fact that he was put in a position where he was given enough confidence behind him to be like, this is something we've not seen before, let's go with it.
It basically, even though it happened like way later than I think Mikami ever saw it happening, it basically, I think, affirmed for him that in a small way, he still accomplished his mission statement with Tango Gameworks.
Yeah.
Because the idea he had when he started the studio was that he was very cognizant of the fact that, like, he was getting older as a creator, and that, he kind of had to think more on, like, the business side of things, and also acknowledge that, like, his ideas are, like, if he continues to get free money to just keep making them, it's going to deprive other up-and-coming talent to be able to make good on their ideas. So the goal was to create a new studio that would be able to foster that kind of developer, like have new proteges to kind of make as the new directors that would be making the games that define the studio. John Johannes was one of them. Ikumi Nakamura, I believe I'm getting her name right, who was originally set to be the director for Ghostwire Tokyo before she had to leave because of the sort of thing where, like, initially when you hear like a woman director like in her position leaving, you think that it's probably some like business bullshit or other controversy, but no, it was just a matter of her kind of coming to understanding that, like, she needs a better work-life balance, especially because she had gotten pregnant at the time. It was like, she's like, I'm going to be a mother. I can't keep up with this kind of workload unless I actively make a work environment that supports it.
Absolutely.
Which is why
fair.
she now has her own studio working on their own game, and like it's like the studio is unseen, and if you've not seen anything of I just caught myself realizing the potential pun of what I just said, but I guess the almost documentary-like videos kind of showing off like what's going on in their studios, what they're working on behind the scenes, shows that, like, for a Japanese studio, it is an impressively diverse, like, forward-thinking working environment. So even if like, she didn't get to like have her directorial debut at the studio while she was that was owned by Mikami at the time, it's like, she still learned a lot from that and is applying that to elsewhere, and will hopefully produce its flagship game in a very good state. But at least John Johannes stuck around, after directing the DLC for Evil Within 1 and then directing a full game of Evil Within 2, basically got the green light with a bit of warning, obviously ahead of time, from Mikami, being like, this sounds like an ambitious concept. I hope you are prepared for whatever challenges you may come across and are prepared to deal with them.
Yeah, basically saying, I hope you're prepared for people to completely reject this concept, because that's what happens with new concepts.
Yeah. Or just completely fail to even find your footing on it.
Well, I mean, we saw from the data logs at the end there that, a lot of people, like, he understood precisely what he wanted. Getting other people to understand that is a whole challenge in itself. I've tried doing stuff like this in the past and trying to explain offbeat or off the wall concept to people, and you might as well be speaking different languages. Once someone gets it and once it clicks, it's like, oh, okay, now we see what you're going with. But getting up to that point,
it is like the biggest
impossible.
Definitely one of like the biggest responsibilities that a director has, which is actually getting people to understand the vision.
Yeah. And sometimes that just doesn't happen, but thankfully, it absolutely did here.
Yeah, and it's not surprising, obviously, that after this game came out, it was successful, like, at least critically, like, John Johannes actually was able to, like, have the team work together to nail the concept. It's why he left the studio a few months after, because he finally realized that, my original mission has been completed in some form. I can trust the studio now with this man this protege of mine that I have brought up, which is like
this talent I have nurtured.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I remember people like kind of sharing some of the tweets from like his personal Twitter account of kind of like showing like, you know, photos of like the team kind of like celebratory of like good job finishing the game, and just the tone of like Mikami's like tweets about it made it feel a lot like a dad who is showing everyone how proud he is of the thing his son made.
Let's put this game up on the fridge.
Yeah, it's like, look at this cool thing my son did. I'm so proud of him.
I had a 45-year-old
proud in the
son.
same way I'm sure he felt about, you know, back when he gave Hideki Kamiya that chance with Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
Even after he completely failed the first time during development and had to restart and still made it work. Shu Takumi with the Ace Attorney series.
Yep.
Holding back the gates of hell that was Capcom executives from getting anywhere near Suda 51.
Oh, which challenge in and of itself.
Yeah, like fucking hell. Yes, this is John Johannes' game that we have played. He's accomplished something amazing, but it's also the thing to remember that this is a man that has learned from one of the best all-time directors in Japan, let alone the entire game industry. If only for, you know, like his talents as a director, but also his ability to recognize other talents,
which is
that is
skill
rare.
in
That
and
is
of
commendable.
Itself.
Like, I love it. I remember being so sad when Tango was initially shut down, and it was what spurred me on to record all this footage, only for the universe to correct itself partially, at least so far, when we had the LP go live, and suddenly, this last video, we don't have to end on a downer note. We can actually look towards the future and be like, there's a chance.
Yeah, I think when we started this, neither of us thought that the final video would be anything more than a wait.
The whole point.
The lost
point of
opportunity.
the song that I had used, which is called "Making Things Is Hard," and is sung by John Johannes himself. Like, that was very much, I was intending to use it in a way that would make the ending of this somewhat somber. But as you can see, knowing what we do now is like, it's a much more hopeful song.
Yep, it's no less true, but you know, that's, as someone who's working on a game project right now, you do it because you can, and because it needs to be done if you want to, you know, get people seeing your vision, which I know sounds incredibly pretentious and arty-farty, but when you get down to it, you are wanting people to see the fun things you have inside your head. And not everyone gets the opportunity to do that. And in this case,
this director's opportunity is like I've made this remark in like other content I've done in the past, but like this game was directed by a white guy living in Japan that got to work under Shinji Mikami. This dude has my dream job. I wish I could be living the life he had, but I'm at least grateful that he got to use the opportunity he had to like make good on a game concept that even I even for all the time that I spent just daydreaming about like game concepts in such excruciating detail, that I actually take the time to consider game mechanics and functionality rather than just, wouldn't it be cool if this game but big, or something completely like vapid and hollow. Instead, it's more like, even I had trouble trying to figure out like how you would even make a fun, versatile action game where everything has to be in sync. And, you know, as we described, they found a solution, and it fucking works. And it is a solution that I am super looking forward to seeing how it could be expanded on, possibly in the sequel. There's so many like wish listy kind of ideas I have in my head as far as where it could go. Like, the only hints we've gotten in more recent weeks is kind of a comments from like, they had like a prototype of the sequel that was at least 6 months old before the studio was shut down, and that they were trying for a more open, kind of dynamic, interconnected type of world rather than possibly just strictly levels. I mean, it could still be level based, but it would probably be built more around like a consistent environment similar to Malay Island and DMC.
Well,
but
Evil Within 2 was basically a series of hub levels.
That's true. Yeah, the whole town was
go into each area, and then there would be essentially like 3 or 4 dungeons that were part of the story, and then there'd be a whole bunch of mini areas that would give you bonuses or bits of story.
Previous areas would have drastic changes in environment and like enemy positions when you progressed in the story.
And anytime you went back to the previous area, it was never strictly backtracking. It was always, oh, okay, this is essentially a new area because there's been an earthquake or because half the town is missing now. So I could easily see it going that kind of direction, where it's essentially a series of stages and then you get taken to another area completely.
Yeah.
I would be very surprised if they didn't go that route, in fact, now that I think about it.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, I love DMC1, I love the first Ninja Gaiden. There's definitely something special about how those games, like, just because I think that was like kind of like the vibe of the time as far as level designs, the idea of just having that kind of interconnected world. Even in something that was designed to be like, you know, very linear, kind of arcade inspired in nature.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, even going back to then, you know, they were like the perceived wisdom at the time was that's not something you do. Each level is its own self-contained area. And it wasn't until they went, okay, but what if we do this, that people lost their fucking minds. And, you know, Devil May Cry 1, it's a classic for a reason. It's, arguably, it's not the best in the game, but it's the best in the series. But, you know, if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have 3 or 4.
Yeah, it's like, turns out Resident Evil style level design actually can make for a pretty good like level design in games that aren't survival horror. Yeah. Who knew?
Shocking, I know, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that only happens when, you know, you're just one of like the various versions, the earliest iterations of RE4 before you decide to retool it into something else.
Yeah, and you know, like that also had the benefit of coming out at a time, you know, the PS2 era in particular was full of people just basically going, okay, what if we did this? And that has gone away over the last 20 odd years. And it's games like this that make me think, okay, maybe we can have it again in a much smaller scale. But, you know, the fact that there's anyone out there with any kind of clout behind them willing to throw money at a project like this. And, you know, it's worth mentioning as well that, who was it that bought Tango again? It was
Krafton. It's the publisher that owns PUBG.
Yeah, I keep going to say Tencent, but Tencent is the devil.
Well, yeah, instead it's a Korean publisher.
Yeah. They said, yeah, we don't actually care about sales. This is purely for prestige. Whether or not they're going to follow through with that remains to be seen. But the fact that they're saying we bought them so that we can get lots of Game of the Year awards and get lots of people saying these guys are great. It's cynical, but I'll fucking take it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's entirely like, self-serving, but it's better than any other. It's something that no other big publisher has done, basically, in the better part of 25 years.
It's definitely an attitude that I can understand and be like, okay, that's at least like something that is totally fine, because not every game in someone's stable needs to be like the absolute mega hit seller. Sometimes you only need just one that is like that multi-million hits, and the others can be just like varying levels of passion projects. But obviously that means like, you know, like I'm extending my hand as part of the acknowledgement that this is what you want to do. Now I need you to extend the other hand to like, you know, complete the handshake. And in this case, that other part of the handshake is showing me what the game is going to be. Yeah. Which we still don't know, but we know that like most of Tango, most of the original staff from like when it was at Bethesda is being brought over. Some of them I think ultimately got other jobs really quickly, so like that ship obviously sailed for them. But I think the number they said that they were getting at was like somewhere around 90% of the original staff.
The story I heard was about 80 to 85%, and the majority of people that they couldn't get was simply because they had gotten a new job immediately after the closure, or they were just there on a temporary basis.
Which, you know, good for them. Better that than
entirely
being stuck
fair. Cannot
better than
fault
an unemployment
anyone.
rut.
Yeah, cannot fault anyone for being like, especially in this day and age, going, oh, okay, the studio's shut. No way in hell it's coming back. Look at the last 12 months at time of recording.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Like, if you had the opportunity to go for another company, take it.
Definitely.
And odds are the door will still be open for them once their contract expires or the project that they're on finishes. Because it's the fact that they reached out to everyone they could strikes me as the kind of company that's like, okay, well, we'll talk again in 12 months, see where you are.
Yeah. Like, again, just very unheard of in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, just kind of like with you, I'll take it. I'm down for seeing what Hi-Fi Rush 2 will have. I'm hoping it'll like make smart improvements on like the systems they already have without, like upending them completely, because I do still want to see the combat and like the technical aspects of it be pushed even more so that there's a bit more spice, like a lot more a room for like, crazy stylistic opportunities. And if I had to make an informed guess as to what that could possibly be, just as my own personal wish, is that I would like to see the whole assist function like be expanded into an active character swap. Let's have our own fucking Marvel team in a fucking 3D action game.
Marvel versus Capcom 3, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. Because, think about it this way. Because I can already think about how, there are some features where it is, there's probably some trimming they could do on them just because they were figuring it out as it goes along. Hell, if I'm being honest, if you look at Chai's entire moveset, all the different combos, I feel like you could at least cut down on a couple of those moves, just based on the fact that they were so rarely used during the course of this Let's Play compared to all the other ones. And just, cutting down on some of those, maybe some other useless features like the reserve battery pickups, because I tend to just use them immediately instead of saving for the right moment. That it's you could do something where, as a sort of competition to say the style system in DMC, you could just have D-pad for let's just switch to all of our different partners. You could either call them in to just do the regular assists like you already do in this game, or if you want to be real fancy, just swap to them and they have their own separate moveset and playstyle, and that kind of avoids the problem of one character getting bogged down with way too complex combo systems, or worse, having to make the rhythm aspect be more complex than it is, just to allow for combo structures that would work on an 8-note system or something, because it's very rigid, as you saw in this game, being focused around, a beat is the quarter note. Sometimes you get stuff that takes 2 and that becomes a half note. The only time you ever get half beat stuff is always with the parries.
Yeah. I mean, once the standard rule is once you get the initial concept down, which I think it's fair to say that, give or take a few tweaks and improvements, they've got this on lock.
They're not going to reinvent it.
Now is the point where you get weird with it.
Yes, and having the whole band be there. Call it the band mechanic while you're at it. Why not? Call them in, they add to the music in ways that is the different instruments. Seriously, it writes itself. Tango, fucking hire me. John Johannes, I know you're listening.
I can write.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at design documents, I'll have you know.
I'm okay at dialogue? Question mark?
That's probably the thing, actually. That, looking at how different certain game development roles are in Japan compared to other studios, I probably would be most qualified for the role of planner if I had the opportunity, because their whole idea is basically taking the director's ideas and instructions and writing detailed plans that then go down the chain to all the the designers and programmers. But obviously, I'm not Japanese, and I'm not moving anywhere because I've definitely had my fill of air travel, at least in my entire lifetime, I would say.
Yeah.
So I'll just stick to being a fan. I'm looking forward to whatever Tango's got coming down the pipeline, just as long as no unforeseen consequences come about that are oops, we have to close Tango again. Sorry.
Swear to God, if you fucking jinxed it after this career resurrection, I'm gonna be very disappointed.
I'm going to have to go off the internet entirely if that's gonna happen.
Just go into hiding.
Oh, yeah, whatever. I'm already in the state of Alaska. That's hiding enough. No one's gonna come up here.
Yeah, it's basically it doesn't exist on the map.
It might as well just be like an extension of Canada.
I thought it was. And now that I've successfully pissed off all our viewers.
Yeah, so I guess that's it. That's our final thoughts, obviously. Kind of rambling, but still praiseworthy all the same. This was an absolute fun ride. Kaboom, it was so good to have you here. Obviously, like, even though we had a 2-month recording hiatus due to real-life complications, kind of on both of our ends, needing to take priority, we at least saw it through and didn't have any super long, gaps or anything. We didn't need to take an unexpected hiatus in the upload schedule. So this was just a big success. I guess the way to close this out now is, I guess just one last thing to say is, expect us to have more projects of our own lined up for next year, but like we can't really say when or where that will possibly be.
But definitely going to be molesting your ear holes at some point. Can I say that? Is that disgusting or?
I mean, we got our own podcast projects, ideally, in the work. Hopefully starting up 2025. You'll hear more of us. Just there's no guarantee yet what new Let's Play might be coming down the line. I don't know. I've had some ideas, but like I'm kind of not as focused on wanting to go straight into like recording more footage. At least until I guarantee that I have enough additional hard drive space to spare.
Oh yeah, always running at hard drive space.
It's a never-ending problem for sure. But this was fun. Kaboom! Thanks for being on.
Always
and
a
everyone
pleasure.
at home, thank you for watching this the whole way. And if you have not played Hi-Fi Rush at any point since watching this, what the hell are you doing?
I am planning on buying it second it goes on sale.
Hell yes, you are gonna have a good time with it. I know.
This is gonna be my Christmas.
Oh yeah, that'll be a fun Christmas for anyone. All right, take care, everyone. Peace.
Later.